John, after watching the tape from the Arizona game, what are some of the things you really like that you want to see continue against Toronto?
I guess the one that sticks out to me the most is just playing fast, playing straight ahead, playing fast, simple. I don't know. There are a lot of good things in it, but again, we just don't look at one game. We're just trying to play our game all the time. We're trying to improve on it all the time.
After the game, you guys were telling us that Tony kind of masterminded that power play goal. How much do you like seeing guys like take that initiative and have the confidence to have that creation?
Yeah, they feel it. I think it was the one particular play prior to that, and looking at the tape, you could see it. He was wide open for a pass. Frosty could have given him a pass. They kind of played like a diamond. So they got together in between periods, and never. I don't think they drew it up that way, but they knew they wanted to have a chance to get the puck, and Tony was just going to take off. TK runs a good route. We end up scoring a goal. So I think it's great. I think players they feel it and see it because they're doing it. So it's very important that they speak up.
Yeah, how do you go about kind of fostering that more collaborative environment and not just saying like this is what we want you to do, this is how we want you to do it, and letting their
Well, our philosophy is we're always looking to empower them. I think with today's athlete, they need to be part of the equation, part of the conversation. As a head coach, I need to be the referee in conversations as far as it's just going the wrong way, and we're going to do it this way. I have to make those decisions along the way, but we certainly want their information. Especially with today's athlete, I think that's part of the youth movement and the way the game's played now is allowing them to feel that they have some say. But we have to be the referee because it could go sideways sometimes. You give them too much.
You mentioned after the game about Morgan, where you basically said that it can't just be 2 or 3 good weeks. It's got to be longer than that. But you've liked what you've seen recently. I guess when a player is in that kind of position where he seems to be clicking for him, but he's not quite there. How long do you have to see it before you start believing that that's actually him?
Yeah. I there's no date that I have in mind. I think when it comes down, for me, when you really find out about a player, is those really important games. We've got a stretch coming here. There's some really good teams we're playing against. There'll be some checking. He'll be playing against some top players head on head with him. Those are all things I take in consideration in trying to figure him out. And I'll tell you, in this situation right now, it's all year long for me evaluating players because I think there's going to be some decisions, some very important decisions for this organization at the end of the year. So it's not happy with 2 months. For me, especially being new here and where the position of this organization is, these questions or these thoughts will be brought up at the end of the year. There's no sooner time than that for me in evaluating.
You mentioned about the idea of you learn about players in important games. And, obviously these games, you're coming out, they're playing some really good teams, you're going to learn something. But is it harder to evaluate when, you guys aren't necessarily in, like, the heart of a playoff race?
Yeah. I do think you find out more if we're 6 or 7 games over 500 and we're in the middle of the battle of the Metro. And I do think there is more information there. I think some very important information. I don't want to minimize our game because I think when you play a game, you try to win. I think there's pressure to do that. But I'm not going to sit here and with us being 2 games under and the climb that we have to think that I'm going to see those type of situations. I hope we put ourselves in a spot that we're sniffing, and then you start sniffing, and then how do you react in those type of situations? For coaches, it's constant information you're looking for out of players, and that's not through speaking with them, it's watching them. And the more and more important the games are, the more and more information you get, good or bad.
When you put together 4 straight wins, do you ever peek at the standings to see where you guys
Not
are?
at once. No, I don't look at the standings if we're 10 games over. I don't. It's not coaches speak for me. It is, I think about each and every day. We got enough things going on I want to get through the day and do my job the best I can for that day, and worrying about and projecting or forecasting or seeing what else is out there. I'm just, it's the way I've always done it. So, and I've really never been a big standings guy. If your team is, your team's in the hunt, when it starts getting into late March and April, sure, you're looking at stuff like that, but not until. And so it's one day at a time.
For you as a coach, is that something you've had to develop, like to be able to look at it one day at a time and not give in to the temptation of looking at
I'm not a good enough coach to look into another day. I'll put it to you this way. If I look to another day, I'm missing something the prior day. And I'm a big believer is that you can't sweep anything under the rug, whether it's correcting a player, attitude problem, something really good about a player you need to talk to him about. All those things come each and every day. If I'm looking at other stuff in the future, I haven't conducted myself properly that day, good or bad. And I think you can get yourself put in a box if you're not conscious of each and every day's problems and good stuff.
John, there's probably going to be some people that look at the last 4 games and say, well, 3 of them are against teams that were below you guys. I know it's always about you guys, but can Toronto be a barometer for you guys to maybe say, hey, that wasn't a fluke?
I don't believe in barometers either.
That's right.
I don't. We've talked about. I don't. And not to be difficult, I just don't get convoluted with, whoa, if we beat that team, this is who we are. I don't look at it that way. I look at it each and every day. If you don't look at your team and coach your team for that particular day, you're going to miss something. And I'm not saying all the bad stuff, it's the good stuff too. You're going to miss an opportunity to let them know, damn right, that was great last night. This part of our game was really good. It doesn't always have to be correcting. And it's ever changing. It changes in 24 hours with these numbskulls out here. You never know what you're going to get in all sports, quite honestly. You never know what you're going to get from athletes. So you got to just worry about each and every day.
Going back to what you said about involving today's athlete in this kind of more collaborative process, I know you talked about like the attention spans of today's athlete, but what makes today's athlete more critical to kind of have that collaborative process compared to 10 or 20 years ago?
Yeah, I don't have a reason why it's happened that way, but I think it is that way. And as a coach, you can't force feed yourself on a guy when I think athletes go in cycles. I do. And this is what today's athlete is for me. In watching other sports, watching other players interact with other coaches in other sports, that's just kind of where it's gone to. How it got there, I don't know. You remember the day, the player wouldn't even look at the coach. It was coach, and there's the player down there. It almost talked down at him back in the day, whenever that was. I think it slowly started changing, and how it changed, who changed it, I have no idea. But I have to make that read with our athletes because it's about them, not about me. There are certain days that I don't want to listen to a goddamn person and their thoughts. Okay, I don't. But I have to fight that because I don't think it's fair. Because I think there's some really good thoughts. I just talked about Tony, setting up a play. I think there's some really good information that we can learn from the players. But I tell you again, you better referee it the proper way because human nature, you give them a little bit and they're going to run with it and they could go off the hill with it. You can't allow that to happen. That's what I have to coach and that's what I have to kind of referee.